guys, welcome to my channel. If you're returning, welcome back. And if you're completely new here, welcome to the channel. Make sure to hit the subscribe button. You can expect academia, career and lifestyle content. So make sure to engage with me in the comments if you have any suggestions on what topics you'd like me to cover. Today's video, just diving straight into it, today's video is a continuation of the accommodation series. So last week I covered student accommodation, my journey when I went to uni in Manchester, what type of accommodation I stayed in, etc. Today's video is going to be focused on renting of private properties. So I was a tenant for about 5 years before I graduated into the home ownership space last year. So it's actually my 1 year anniversary this month. So make sure to check out my home buying series if you're considering buying a house in the UK, because I was a first time buyer. I do cover that in detail. Today's video, the objective of today's video is just to share tips that I learned when I was a tenant. So some of the things that can help your journey be smooth. We all know that this year has been a bit tough when it came to the rental market. Rental prices were going crazy. There was a shortage of properties. So yeah, it definitely puts you in a better space if you know what to look out for, what to expect. And also if you're relocating to the UK and you know you're going to need to find a property as soon as you land, this video will be very useful for you in terms of what you can expect. So if I put a snippet, if I just give you a lowdown on how my rental journey has been. So when I was in uni, I did 1 year placement at IBM in London. So for 1 year, I had to rent in London. For some reason, I don't know why I didn't consider student accommodation for that year, but it is what it is. So I rented for 1 year in London. That was my first time ever dealing with a private landlord, going through the whole process. And then of course, when I graduated, I rented also. So when I was in London doing my placement, I rented a room, which tends to be the case for most people in London who are looking for affordable options. It's very expensive to rent in London, so it's very rare for someone to have their own apartment. Most of the time you flat share. So I was flat sharing with 3 other people in a 4-bed flat. There was no living space, which is something that was unheard of. For me, coming from Manchester, because even student accommodation, there's usually a lounge area, there's a living space, a place where you can hold your parties and whatnot, and just chill and watch TV, whatever the case. But actually, the flat I was in, the living room had been converted into another room, which is just something that you see with London, by the way. That's just specific to London. So yeah, when I graduated and I moved to Birmingham to start my job, I was flat sharing with one person. So the first year of work, I flat shared. And then after that, I just got my own place. I could afford it, finally. And that just meant I moved further from the city center. But I was happy to do that trade-off of being a bit further away from work, but having my own space. So for 4 years, I rented my own flat before I got my own house. So that's just a snippet of my journey. So that then, I think I can pretty much say I have experience, good enough experience on what it is that you can expect, and therefore can share some of the tips. So if you see me looking down, I'm looking at my phone just to make sure I don't miss any key points. But some of the things that you can expect. So you need to, of course, the first stage is viewing. And for you to know what properties to view, you can get in touch with a real estate agent. That's the traditional way. Or you can actually use online platforms to view, at least to know what properties are on the market when it comes to being available for you to rent. Hey guys, today's video is sponsored by Amber, which is a platform used by students to find accommodation near their universities. So they are actually Southeast Asia's largest student accommodation provider, and they have over 20,000 listings across the globe, from Australia, Europe to US. And as you can see, they are rated excellent, as you can see there on the screen, by Trustpilot with over 2,000 reviews. In terms of how it works, all you need to do is navigate to amberstudent.com and search against the university that you will be joining or you're already part of. In this case, I will search against my alma mater, which is University of Manchester. And the listings, as you can see, we have 32 listings. You can use the filters at the top to specify criteria that's important to you. In this economy, price is probably the most important. So if I filter for listings within £200 a week price range, and sort for what's closest to the university, I get about 14 listings. And if I click on the first one, just to show you how it's like, just to get a feel of how it's like on the platform, you'll be able to get more information about the property, pictures, videos, which are very useful, especially if you don't have an opportunity to go visit the property specifically for international students. You will see offers that are available to you, and more information about amenities, so room specific common amenities, whether bills are included or not, and just to draw your attention to room types. So especially if you're considering maybe having your own kitchen, an entire place to you, or you don't mind having ensuite but sharing living space and kitchen, room types is probably where you want to pay more attention and then select a room that's within what you would like. And also a cancellation option that definitely worth calling out: no visa, no pay. This is very useful for international students who maybe you haven't secured your visa yet, but you do want to get started with securing your accommodation, especially because they run out. Now is the busy period, so you definitely want to secure a place if you plan to join in the autumn. And yeah, so if you'd like to find out more information, please click on the link in the description section of this video. Also get in touch with the team. You can do this on the platform. As you can see, there's a chat function, and there are also contact details within the website itself. So once you have located the property that it is that you want, you book a viewing. And this is how it used to happen. I know post-COVID, there's been a lot of changes, and there's all this remote viewing, like actually you can see a video and whatnot. I'm talking to you about the traditional approach, and I think it's safe to say things are back to normal. So this is typically what you go through now as well. So you book your viewing, and a tip that I learned the hard way. So for me, most of the times when I was making a big move, I was moving cities, and that's when I really struggled to find accommodation. So what I did, I booked viewings all in one day, because like you can't really travel every day, especially if you started work or whatever it is that you're doing. It's just expensive, and especially if you don't have somewhere to stay once you go to visit the location you're moving to. So I would cram all my viewings into that one day. But what I wouldn't do is already have in mind what my budget is, and just decide that, you know what, if I see a property I like, I'll just go with it. Because once I viewed the properties, by the end of the day, when I'm on my way back to my city, the properties will be gone. And I can imagine that's probably still the case now. So what I would definitely say, before you go for viewings, just already have decided in your head what the budget is. And if you go and view that property and you like it, just take it, because they go like this. Like, I remember feeling so wasted when I've just spent a whole day looking at properties and all of them are gone. Because most people, when they go, they're already very decisive. They're like, you know what, I'm ready to put down an offer, I'm ready to reserve, I'm ready to start the process. So tip number one, have a budget in mind and be decisive, because you need that. You'd rather have a place and then when the contract is up, move, because maybe you didn't like small things. But if you did the viewing and you really liked like the general things, the things that are a no-brainer for you, then you know what, just go for it. Like, don't drag it on, because looking for a place to stay is just stressful in itself. So once you have decided, you know what, I'm going for this property, normally most places you need to put down a reservation fee. Sometimes it's free, sometimes it's just expressing interest. There's just a form you complete to say that, you know what, you're ready to kickstart the process. And then now is when you now need to do the admin things. So normally once you've expressed interest, they'll now start the referencing process. So one of the first things that they need to do is verify your identity. So they'll ask you either for your passport or your driving license. They'll ask for proof of address. So where you live currently, you need to at least provide proof of address. And this tends to be utility bills, council tax bill, even your driving license. Normally, if it currently has your current address on it, then you can also use that. They'll ask for they'll check your affordability. So they'll ask maybe for your salary if you're employed. So you need to maybe provide your pay slips for the last 3 months. If you're self-employed, then you need to provide proof of the income that you've been having for when you're self-employed, you have to prove it over a longer period, maybe about a year. as it's the case whenever you're applying for credit anyway. And then if you're employed, then also an proof of employment letter. So normally you can get an employment reference letter from your employer. And then also bank statements. I think because when I was in uni and I was in student accommodation, there's just a lot of like, this process is cut down by half, I must say. So I was very hesitant to start providing my bank statements and all of that. But normally they, a lot of landlords here in the UK want to make sure that once you're in, because they usually want you to stay in for a long period of time, minimum 12 months most of the time, but there's some 6-month contracts you can get. They just want to know that you'll afford to pay their rent, and it's very hard to kick someone out of a property. I think there's some laws protecting you on that, so landlords are very thorough with what they check for. So just make sure when you're ready, you know your lease is coming up, or you're relocating here, or you're just, you know, whatever your situation is, and you know you're about to go through the accommodation journey, just have your documents in check. Make sure your spending isn't too terrible, you're not in overdraft, things like that. Things that just maybe misrepresent your financial situation. You want to just look like, you know, you have a healthy income and you won't struggle to pay. Something to point out though, especially for people who are relocating here and maybe their job, like their salary doesn't meet the standards, you can have a guarantor, a UK guarantor. They just need to be resident here in the UK and earn the amount that needs to be earned. So you just need to have someone who you trust, who trusts you, because it's them putting themselves on the line, and you can put them down as a guarantor. Like for me, when I was doing my placement here, I had to have a guarantor because I was just getting a placement salary, which didn't meet the standards for me to rent a place in London. So I just, we used one of my family friends, and yeah, it happens, it's okay. All you need to do is just to show, the landlord just wants to know that, to be reassured that every month they'll be paid their rent. Okay, and then next thing is if they're happy with the whole referencing process, some of them ask for your previous landlord's contact because they want to engage with them and find out if you've ever defaulted. If you're a terrible tenant, you're going to come and they'll have to issue you warnings because of the noise you're making, whatnot. So they just want to check your character. So some of them do ask for your previous landlord's contact. The next thing, you sign the tenancy agreement. This used to be in person, you used to have to go, and it's normally the same day you go to pick your keys as well, and you pay deposit on this day too. I know now post-COVID there's digital signing, a lot of people use DocuSign, but I don't know how you pick your keys still. I think you still have to go somewhere in person, but normally from my experience, the same day you go to sign the tenancy is the same day you pick your keys, the same day you pay your deposit. Deposit has to be placed in a private deposit scheme to protect you, so that it's usually about 6 weeks worth of the 6 weeks rent that you have to put in deposit, and it's just to cover any damages, or anytime if you ever defaulted, they know that they at least can get your deposit. So it's normally protected. It's not meant to be with your landlord, it's meant to be in a protection scheme, and at the end of it, when you move out, hopefully there are no damages. Look out for next week's video because I'll tell you some of the nightmares I have experienced with these landlords. But typically, if you have a good landlord, as long as you've not made any damages, or if you made any, you repaired them yourself, the place is in a good condition, you get your deposit back. Cool. So yeah, that's literally the process. It sounds probably more complicated than it is. Once you've gone through it once, it's very like, it will be normal for you when you go through it again. Sometimes I think it's worth, like, I know there's a time I provided a credit report and that really helped. Just because the documents I've mentioned now, you don't have some of them, you can provide alternative documentation. You can reason with them, just state, I don't have this, but I have this. So as long as you know the intention behind the ask, it's normally verifying your identity, verifying your affordability, and there's one more I forgot, verifying your right to rent. So this is mainly applicable to international people. So the UK, of course, when you're showing that you're a UK citizen, maybe through your passport, for international folks like me, I used to have to show my visa as well, just to show that you are actually a resident and they're not going to be housing illegal immigrants. So yeah. And yeah, these are just The reason why I decided to share this is just for smooth sailing for you, like so that you know what to expect. Hopefully it's easier for you. I'll definitely say when you move in, and I'll cover this in the nightmare episode next time, make sure you take pictures of how you found things, because sometimes the landlord will make it seem like everything is good to go and you go and find things broken, then they'll blame it on you when you move out. So take pictures on the day of moving in. Let them also, most landlords will have done anyway, an inventory that they'll provide you when you move in. Compare the pictures in that inventory to how you find things, because you want things fixed before you settle in and they start saying that it's you who made the damages. And obviously when you're moving out, take pictures, because they'll give you a £200 bill that they steamed the carpet, and even if I steam with my own steamer, it will not cost that much. So sometimes they just go overboard to try and get the deposit off of you. So yeah, you want to have an audit trail. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions. Hopefully you're not having rental nightmares. If you do, please share them, let us bond. I will fill you in on my own rental nightmares next week, so look out for that upcoming video. Bye.